Now that we have the flame shaded, the ice shaded, we need to move on to the dirt. So let's go over to dirt. And if we go to our scene view and get out of manual, this doesn't start existing until around here. Let's go to where it's starting to drop. Let's go up a little bit more so that we just see the flame shape as it comes down. So yeah, I think this will look fine. So what we need to do now is we need to give these points color. And it has, I think, everything else that we need, yeah. So it's got velocity. It's got actually a lot of attributes that normally we could probably just kill, but since we're so far down the end of this, there's really no need. I don't think it's going to take up too much computationally. All we're doing is adding a few more attributes to it. So let's make a point wrangle. And we're going to go up here, and I'm going to do @cd equals. We're going to have to do a couple things here. First, we're going to have to make a channel that's a ramp, so chramp. And then we're going to name the ramp something, so we'll just call it color ramp. And then we'll say we want to fit this on an attribute, and we want it to be a random attribute, so we'll do fit01 rand ptnum 01. I think I have too many parentheses. But what we also want is, since we want a color ramp, we have to, if you don't define it as a vector, it'll make it a float ramp. So we want vector, just throw a parentheses at the end. And if we create this, then there's our ramp. And now we have a random color between 0 and 1 on all of these things, all these little grains. And now we can start playing with the color. We're not going to go too crazy with it. We're just going to make this look sort of like dirt tones. So grab that. Going to get rid of this and then be able to play off this color a bit. So I'm going to make this darker. Maybe even more dark. Gonna make this a little bit more orangey, make it brighter. And then we can have little bits here and there. So like make that dark, make another thing here. Get something like that and just have a little bit more randomness to it. And we'll want a little bit more value to that. And over here, we'll just kind of sandwich something in between that. That should probably be random enough. I'm not positive. We'll have to look at the render, but I think that's looking cool. So now what we want to do is we want to copy to points. And since this went through pop grains, these already have a P scale. So we don't really need to mess with that. So we're just going to make a sphere. And if we copy to points, now this has a bunch of spheres. It's not a small amount of spheres. So we can see they're there. I'm going to, instead of having primitives, I'm going to turn this into polygons and see what happens. Wish me luck. Alright, so was that the best idea? Probably not. I think first, let's just, instead of copying these to points, let's just see what the render looks like. So I'm going to undo what I did just there. I'm going to make a null. Hopefully if you're following along, you didn't bomb your box, because that would be semi-intense. So I'm going to just put out grains. Make this render. And for a shader, we can just go to the material palette. I'm going to say, let's just make it clay. And then now we're going to go here. We're going to make mantra dirt. Everything here is good. Going to go to objects. Force objects, dirt. Set geo. Everything else should be fine. Gonna save. Go to render view. Go to dirt. And let's see what this looks like. This is what it looks like. I think that we aren't going to need to copy any geo onto it. Our points are packed in on themselves enough that we're far enough away that we don't need to vary up the shape. If we needed to vary up the shape, then we'd need geo on it, and then we'd have to run noise on top of it. But as it stands, I think this will work. The main things are, one, on our clay shader, I think that the specularity is too high, so we need to increase the roughness. I'm going to make it something like 7.5, and then it's fully reflective. I'm going to make this like 0.2, because this is dirt. This shouldn't be reflecting that much. Then another thing that I saw, sampling, we need velocity blur. And then we just need to make sure that in our dirt rendering, allow motion blur. I'm going to increase the pixel samples. And now I'm going to hit render again, and we'll see how that looks. All right, so this has a lot more motion blur on it. I'm not seeing much in the way of these bright specular highlights, so I think this should work. One thing that we'll have to do is we'll have to go and see what it looks like when the flame is still there. So I'm going to just inch back a bit, because there should be a volume light that's hitting it. The flame will have died out by the frame we're on right now. So if we go back to when the flames are still there, we just want to make sure that this is picking up the light. So I'm going to hit render. Okay, so this is picking up the light. We can see, even though our flame isn't being rendered in this at all, it is heating this up inside. I think I am going to go back. I'm just going to say screw it. Our flame light, it's going to be an exposure of 3. I think that should be good enough. So I'm going to hit render, see if this brightens up a bit. And it does. Not a whole lot, but it does brighten up. And I think that looks good. Now when this drops into the bowl, it'll have correct motion blur. And the grains are so small that I don't think we need geo onto it.